Welcome to module number 6, ranges and constructors. You're going to get introduced to a new type of object called the range object. So we've talked about integers, floats, booleans, strings, lists, and now ranges. So a range object is actually a fairly simple object, and what it is a sequence of integers with a start, stop, and step value. So here are some examples to help clarify that. So these are all possible ranges. You could have integers from 0 to 7. That's one possible range. All integers from 50 to 60. Every third integer beginning at 100 and ending at 200. Every 15th integer from negative 200 to negative 50. So these are just 4 different examples of ranges. So the way to create a range is with this range constructor. So I'll talk about what this word constructor means later on, but you have to use this word range in Python to create this range object. There's no special syntax to create them. So just to tell you, so with lists, we use these square brackets to create a list, like so. That's a list. To create a string, we used quotation marks and characters. But for a range object, we don't have those special symbols. We have to use the word range, and then the most basic range is created with a number inside here. So I'm going to put 8 inside here. So this will create a range beginning at 0 up to but not including 8. So that is the integers 0 through 7, or specifically 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this creates it. Since we have an assignment statement, there is no output. Let's go ahead and try to look at this object. And looking at it doesn't look very helpful here. So it just says range 0 to 8. You might expect to actually see all of these integers, but the range object, it just defines the sequence. It doesn't actually list out the sequence just yet. You can use all of those integers in that sequence, and we'll see how to do that later on. But this is just how it is displayed in your notebook. So again, the range always has a start, stop, and step value. Here the start is 0, the stop is 8, and the step is 1 by default. It doesn't show 1, but that is just the default. You should notice these the same terminology from slice notation. So the range object uses that same type of terminology, but it applies it specifically to these integers. All right, so let's verify its type with the type function. This is what we always do at the beginning of these modules when we come across a new type. Let's place our variable name in there, and we will see that we do in fact have a range object. Okay, so ranges are much simpler than some of the other objects we've used before. There's not too many attributes or methods. In fact, it's actually the first object where we will look at some attributes. So attributes are accessed with the dot notation. And if I press r.tab, you see that there are not too many things over here that pop down. There's not as many abilities with a range object. So the start value for this specific range is 0. Notice there's no parentheses for attributes. It's just r dot the attribute name. The stop value is 8, and the step value is 1. So there's always a start, stop, and step. Let's create more range objects. So we can do that second one. Say integers from 50 to 60. That would be this. And if I execute this, it doesn't show them. We'll learn how to show all the integers in a bit. We could say from 100 to 200. So here the start is 100, the stop is 200, and we can put in a step size of 3. So 100, 200, going by 3. Again, you don't see the integers. It just defines the range. You can go from 200 down to 50 by -3 or -5. We can just choose a different step size. So that also works. So we're going down from 200 down to 50 by -5. So we'll go back 5 every time. So that's how you can create range objects. So again, the easiest way is just to put a single number in there. And if you just put a single number in, it creates the range from 0 up to that number. 2 numbers, you're defining the start as the first number and the stop as the second. 3 numbers, you have start, stop, and step. So that is an introduction to the new type, the range object.